I don't have an articulated question about this actually, but I just wonder if there's like a jumping off point that we could talk about, or if you've experienced that. You know, he talks about precognition, right, and dreams.
Hmm.
Like I've definitely had some dreams where I'll be like, it'll like I predicted my friend's move to Colorado before I had talked to him at all. Like me and my other buddy were already out here, and you know, I had this dream, and I wrote it down, and like one of the one of just the standalone lines was Duke's moving to Colorado exclamation point. And then it happened, or you know, he told me like a month later like, "Hey, I'm moving out there." Um so I don't know if you've have had any experiences like that, or can speak to that in a more robust, quantifiable way than I just did.
My whole life is full of those experiences. I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, admit that they've had experiences like that.
Hmm.
And I think one of the things that when I talk about my frustrations with my current job is that in order to accept what Eric Wargo is saying about the nonlinearity of time, you have to dispense with the fundamental taboo of physics right now. Like, you know, not physics as it has always been, not physics as many respectable people like quantum physicist John Archibald Wheeler, for instance,
Hmm.
think of time, or Julian Barber. But the majority of people are held due to, you know, weird sort of socioeconomic pressures
Yeah.
into this position where you're not even allowed to think that the future exists already.
Hmm.
And you know, like, and to be fair, to be fair, God, my wife just binge watched all of Letterkenny, and now she says that to me every time I,
You
you
say
know, and
that.
so I've just internalized the abuse. But at any rate, the you know, to be even handed about this,
There you go.
and Eric is willing to go here too. There is entropy. You know, things
Sure.
fall apart. You know, the future is uncertain in ways that the past is specified. You
Right.
know, is certain. And yet, even though we have this grain, or you know, this kind of directionality, calling it an arrow of time is misleading, because I agree with Eric that the evidence is strongly in favor of time being very naughty. You know, time being very like
Nautilus naughty.
naughty.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
NAUT or KNOT,
Yeah.
either one. Yeah, that it's, you know, that there are. It's like you know, if you think about time as a river, which is another possible, you know, popular metaphor,
Hmm.
then rivers flow in one direction, but they also have eddies
Right.
and like tidal backflow and
Yes.
stuff like this. You know, it's not simple. And you would think that people working in nonlinear fluid dynamics and related disciplines
Right.
would appreciate that, like, shit just does not move in a straight line in nature. It just
Right.
doesn't. And yet, that's just not acceptable to talk about those things among most scientists,
Why do you think
which is
that
a real
is?
disappointment because, you know, you and Eric's done a fantastic job of exploring this. You dispense with that one taboo, and suddenly you have this vastly simply, it's much more parsimonious. Uh, you have this much easier way of explaining all of these other things, and you know, there's some part of me that just adores the way that he comes at the entire field of paranormal research from within as a hardcore materialist, and
Hmm.
says, "Oh, telepathy, near death experiences, past life stuff, UFOs, remote viewing.
Mhm.
Like, sorry guys, all of this can be explained by getting rid of this one thing,
Yeah.
which is that, you know, that, oh, you will later find out when you talk to your friend that you knew what they were thinking. You know,
Yeah.
or like you pick up the phone, it's like, okay, so telepathy is real. You knew your friend was about to call you. Cool. But what is the mechanism?
Right.
Well, the mechanism could be that you're about to know and that you have access to some future state of your own brain. And when you actually look at look at all of the evidence about this stuff, nobody knows anything that they're not going to find out later. You know,
Right. Yeah,
like there's no like cosmic akashic thing that somebody has objective access to information.
Yeah.
You know, when they find out about, like, when they have a dream about a plane crash that's going to happen 3 days later, their dream is like, the pictures that they draw from their dream are like pictures of what they're going to see in the newspaper in 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's humbling. But I'm glad that Eric and I were able to get into the ways that this isn't just about, like, the ways that information can travel backwards through culture and not just through an individual life.
Yeah.
Because you had that multiple scales thing back in, you know, and you can talk about the way that we're binding time collectively. You know, the way that a culture can carry a prophecy. So, like, you know, so-and-so didn't actually live to see this event, but...
Yeah. How can we tie that in?
Yeah, the car alarm is perfect there. But, you know, the fact that, like, this became a core feature of their cultural environment and was, like, handed down. He gives the example of the Dogon people of Australia, who for centuries had this understanding about the Sirius star system that they could not have had with the technology that they had available to them. They
were able to see.
There were stars there that were invisible to the naked eye. But then eventually they meet an anthropologist who tells them this, and everybody's mind is blown. And it's a significant event for him and for their entire culture. And
so they had, just to break this down to make sure that I understand. So they had a prophecy about that the Sirius star system had more stars than they could see with their naked eye, and it was a prophecy, or was it like they just?
It was just part of their stories that they had carried. And it's like, well, where did it come from? And they said, oh, it came from, you know, our stories tell of this, like, you know, this strange foreigner. And it's like, because we insist on a linear time, we are like, oh my God, they must have been in contact with aliens.
Right.
But it's like, but really, who's the alien here? It's the white dude.
It's the white guy
who came to Africa and was like, you know, telling them this stuff in their own future.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, it's just, once you open up to that kind of stuff, basically everything else falls.